Big game coverage live from Glendale, Arizona. Powered by AA Best Bail Bonds, Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds, Texas Cheer, and by 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
This is R in the morning. We're going to add another R. That is Rudy. I am Rob, and that is RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys, sitting comfortably in the valley. You know, we're in the valley too. We're in the valley of the sun.
Yes.
How you doing?
What's up, RJ?
Doing great. Great to be with you guys. Happy that you guys have made the PHX so interesting that Kevin Durant has decided to join you all. I haven't recognized Rudy without doing one of his fashion walks that I've seen on Instagram.
To fix your face.
Interesting to see him just sitting down.
Hey, real quick, let's get this out of the way so we can get to the Cowboys. You tweeted, well, not tweeted. You Instagram storied a picture of MLB's 50 days till opening day. And there was about 12 players on this photo and not one Astro. Is MLB still scared to stand next to the Astros even though they've moved on from 2017? Because how do you have 50 days to opening day and not have not one person from the team?
Who would you put? Who would you have put?
Pick one. Altuve.
It wouldn't be Altuve. Well, pick another one.
Why wouldn't it be Altuve?
Well, because he's the middle of the whole thing.
Okay.
I can see picking one guy, but it won't be Altuve.
Pick one. I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying. If
it
it's
should
not
be a straw on
Altuve,
there. Who should be on there?
Be?
Who should it be then, RJ?
Well, I would have understood if every player had been number 50. That's the way you sell it if you're not going to do an Astro. But if you're the MLB was really fortunate that Jeremy Pena was this darling. You want a guy to put on the cover of stuff, not connected to 2017, not connected to anything, brand new blood, brand new face, super young, super charming. That's the guy. He's the World Series MVP. He's super marketable. So if you could go Pena, you could go Jordan. I mean, I understand some people still don't like Jordan, but Jeremy is the example.
Okay.
All right. RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys joining us. Now, we wake to the news from Tony Pauline that it appears that Zeke's ready to restructure for what has been termed significantly less. Thoughts on dollar amounts that Zeke will probably land at?
This is such an uncomfortable time of year because I don't want to come out here and say I'm rooting for this person to lose money or this person to not have their job. I'm good. It's not even about the money at this point. It's about touches. Any touch for Zeke is one less touch for literally anybody else. And I'm not to be funny or sarcastic, but that works against you.
So in the nicest way possible, you want him just gone. You're trying to be nice about it, but that's what you're saying. You don't care if it's 1 million. You think that any touch from Zeke is a negative for the Cowboys.
I 100% agree with the second part of what you said, but I recognize, I'm not in the locker room. I'm not in the weight room. I don't know the value that Zeke brings there. That is a real thing. But in terms of,
clearly,
on Sundays, a touch for Zeke works against you as an offense. And this is the offense or the year that you have to design your offense to be incredibly explosive, right? That's all I want. I want fast, explosive players, and Zeke is right now the farthest thing from that, unfortunately.
I got a crush on Malik Davis.
Okay.
And, you know what I mean? I do. I just feel like
okay. When you say that, I remember having a crush on Noah Brown. I just don't think he's been. You know what I mean? I don't think he's been fully defined.
Noah or Malik?
Noah, he's been defined, and he ain't what we thought. And I think Malik,
you think
it's it's all this potential and possibility, and we haven't defined him yet. But if he was that good, I think we'd have seen him.
Are you sure? Because they keep giving 15 touches to Zeke. Go ahead.
I will
RJ.
say this: the fact that as the Cowboys were losing to the 49ers, you could make a non-zero level argument that Malik Davis should be touching the ball is enough to kind of answer this question, right? The fact that we're all sitting here wondering, should the rookie undrafted free agent be touching the ball with the season on the line over Zeke? You know what I'm saying? The fact that that's
the fact
not
that's
the
a conversation
of all time.
Yeah.
And it's not it's not meant to be negative towards Zeke. He's had a wonderful career. It's been a wonderful time. He's an important part of Cowboys history. I don't think people recognize. They drafted him and moved from Valley Ranch to the Star. He is one of the faces of this era. But it's
Facts.
just, you got to move on. You got to get with the times. Like, this isn't, 1996 anymore. Like, welcome to 2023. We got flying cars. I mean, Netflix is flashing prices, or whatever they're doing, passwords. I mean, like, you got to get hip.
The funny thing about that is the way we talk about him. Like, bless his heart.
That's how RJ sounds.
We've gotten to the bless his heart part of it, and that's the worst place to be for anybody. And you're right. It's hard talking about this kind of stuff, and he does mean something. Now, with that in mind, we had Steve Palazzolo on. He's with Pro Football Focus, and he all the numbers.
Yeah.
And we asked him about we asked him about running back and the value at running back. The platoon versus the one. And he said it is not even close, that the running back is the most interchangeable position in all of football. So if Zeke's overpaid for production, aren't you afraid at franchising Tony Pollard? Are we also now again franchising for production? And if Malik is all that, he costs nothing, go get 3 of those.
That's a fair question. The line of thought is identical. Right now, the context is a little different, and the context is dependent on how you view this team. Like, how you woke up this morning, what the continental breakfast was like for you, like what mood you're in. Because you can, if you are like, the phrase "all in" is so silly. Like, you can be all in over and over and over and over again. Like, you are never all in and then all out. That just doesn't happen in really sports, but certainly the NFL.
Right.
But if you believe, like, what, we really like, we cannot chance. This is Mike McCarthy's potential last hurrah. We're gonna have to make a decision on him. We're gonna have to make a decision on Dak. And you want Tony Pollard around for that? Fine. Like, I understand that logic, but tag him. I mean, you know what I mean? Tag him and keep this thing, short, so you are operating in a more defined stretch of time. The injury is a factor with Tony Pollard. Like, if he was totally healthy, I would feel much better about tagging him. But I mean, those are all fair variables. People say it's the most replaceable position in the NFL. Steve is certainly one of the brightest minds that kind of covers this sort of thing. I would phrase that, because some people push back on that, it's the most dependent position in the NFL. It is more dependent on anything else than literally any other position. So, like, you could be the most talented player in the world, and you still might not make that large of an impact because of the talent around you.
Let's role play. I'm the Cardinals GM. You're Jerry. I call you. I say, hey, Jerry, let me get your 26th pick, and I'll give you DeAndre Hopkins. What do you say, Jerry?
Okay, let's do it. I mean, I'm super down. Like, I don't know why this is. I don't know if Rudy contaminated the water when he was in Phoenix back in February, but I am all. No,
because I've been putting it out there, and people have been killing me for it because of his. A perfect example: Michael Jimenez and Tim Spence both threw me all the way under the table, saying that he's too injury prone and that costs too much, and
I mean, you can find examples to support like every argument, but would you rather have AJ Brown or Treylon Burks on your team right now? Like, I asked the Eagles, would they rather have Treylon Burks on Sunday or AJ Brown? Because they flipped their first round pick a year ago for Treylon.
It'd be AJ Brown.
Became Treylon Burks, yeah. And so, like, again, like, you would also rather have Jamar Chase, right? Like, rookies can come in and make a big impact, but not at 26. I mean, Jamar Chase was a top 5 pick, and I know CD and Justin Jefferson, like, there's all of these examples, but you have to, like, I think a lot about, and shout out to my friend Bobby Belt from 105 The Fan. He was the first person who ever used this line this way. I'm sure you guys have seen The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and there's a part in that movie where Steve Carell's character is not having a lot of romantic success, and he's talking to his friend at the video store, and he says, it doesn't feel right, to try that. And his friend says, look, man, what you've been doing is not working. Maybe it's time to try some wrong. And so, like, I'm not proposing trying some wrong, but I'm proposing, like, you know what? You don't feel comfortable trading a first-round pick for a receiver that's a little bit injury-prone? It's time to kind of live outside of your safe and comfortable cozy box.
Boom. I completely agree with that statement. I try some wrong, but injured old wrong.
Try some wrong sounds so weird, but I get it.
Might not be the best wrong.
Especially when you're talking about relations. Like, what does that mean?
Yesterday, Roger Goodell.
It's movie line.
I know what you meant.
Goodell, I don't know if we have the sound, but we heard it yesterday. Roger Goodell spoke to the press regarding the the reffing, the penalties, the state of the league and how reffing applies. And let's play this, and I want to hear your reaction to what he has to say.
When you look at officiating, I don't think it's ever been better in the league. There are over 42,000 plays in a season. Multiple infractions could occur on any play. Take that out and extrapolate that. That's hundreds, if not millions, of potential fouls. And our officials do an extraordinary job of getting those.
I recognize that being an NFL official is not an easy thing. And I do think that we undersell how difficult it is to make real-time judgments. And they get a lot of things right? That you're like, you don't really notice because it's not a big deal. But come on. I mean, very similar.
There's obviously a problem.
You know what? Both of you guys, y'all y'all have to give the refs the same amount of leash as you give the players.
I want to.
I want to. Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, I want to give them more help. Give me a sky judge. I want to give me more. I give them. I want to take the responsibility somewhat off of their shoulders. Like, we live in a world where we can be having this conversation in all sorts of places on the world. Like, we can send robots to Mars. We can grow vegetables in all sorts of climates, and we are measuring things with a chain in a multi-billion dollar
in a game industry. A couple of weeks ago. The chain broke in a game.
I had only ever seen that happen once, and it was at Comalander Stadium with Jason. So I didn't know that could happen again.
How much is it going to make yours and Jerry's skin crawl if Philly wins this game Sunday for the second time in 4 years?
In 4 years? It's the second time in 6 years. So
wait, I thought that was 2019. Am I off? My math is bad. It was 17.
The Chiefs won in 19.
Okay.
So,
well, second time in 6 years.
Close. Look, I had to say this week, and it really bothers me. But if the Eagles win this Super Bowl, they have maybe the two best Super Bowls you could ever ask for. They beat the GOAT in his finest hour, and they beat the Chiefs. And the baby goat, and the only person who's beaten the baby goat is the goat himself, who they obviously took out as well. And look,
that's the storyline. I was looking for a storyline all week. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the storyline.
Just their season. People equate things to Madden so often, but they have had a Madden season, right? Everybody's a Pro Bowler. Everybody's an All-Pro. Everybody has set a record. They've been crushing teams. You know what I mean? It is truly a Madden connected franchise season, and so it will be the sweetest kind of fruit that a football a sports fan could have, right? It's you don't get seasons sometimes teams win the title that are super surprises and you don't expect, and their actual regular seasons suck, and then they get hot, and it's cool, but a big part of that was terrible. For the Eagles, they will have gone wire to wire, and that is very impressive, and it will bum me out. And a lot of Cowboys fans are like, well, that's going to inspire Jerry to get super aggressive. The last time that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, they cut Dez, went and retired, and they went wide receiver by committee. It was the most conservative approach that they had ever had in a very long time. So I don't exactly have a template of this inspiring.
RJ Ochoa.
They came in swinging today.
We're glad you're with us today, man. What you doing today? We're at the Super Bowl.
We're not there, but we've got some interviews popping on. We've got Trayvon Diggs dropping by, blogging the boys later.
I saw the Marcus Ware. The Marcus Ware was.
Yeah, I saw Trayvon coming by.
As excited as I am for that, I don't have my legs shaking like Rob does for Andrew Zimmer in a little bit. So it's not going to be as good of a day for me as it is for Rob.
He is directly in front of me. He's about, I'd say,
this dude is
40
weird.
yards.
This is getting weird,
and he's looking at me right now.
It's getting weird. I'm not going to be here. So if you don't, what's happened?
I'll tell you the story about how he assaulted him. I mean, in a friendly way, in Minnesota at the Super Bowl party, the media party at the mall.
Yeah,
Rob attacked him, and I mean, we all heard.
It was the beginning of a beautiful relationship. One-sided, yes, but a relationship nonetheless.
I'm leaving.
I have one final question.
Yes.
I don't know what the rooming situation is for you guys. I've seen it on the bungalow on your Instagram story. But Rudy, has Rob ironed any of your clothes? Because if not, it's not a real San Antonio sports.
He irons his own clothes.
Yeah, see,
I've offered.
I'm team iron. I like to iron. It's
you gotta
it's therapeutic.
It's like
let Rob do it.
I think Yeah, like it's like when you become like an A-list actor, you go like do Fallon. Like that's what you got to do. You got to like sit on the couch and let Rob iron your clothes. Like that's kind of the problem.
All right. I'm gonna let him iron my clothes for the cigar party tonight.
And we'll talk some life. Hey, RJ, it's always a pleasure, man.
Dog.
We're glad to get a chance to talk to you today. Take care of yourself. We'll see you next week. That's RJ Ochoa. Hit Blogging the Boys. It's going to be a busy day around there, and that's the source for all your Cowboy stuff.